Okay, guys, we're back again. OversteerTV the podcast, episode number 4.
Is
One,
this
two,
really the
three,
fourth?
four. Yep, this is our 4th one. I'm Tony Castanera, and I'm joined as usual with.
Jeff Brown,
There you go.
racing aficionado, Jeff Brown.
Today we're going to talk about the upcoming Miami Grand Prix, which is in our backyard, right up the road here, right up the turnpike from where I live. Can be there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's my home away from home.
Yeah, Mr. Dolphin fan himself. But
Been a lot of Sunday mornings there, drinking heavily.
I do the same drinking, but at home and from my sofa watching it on TV. But first, before we start talking about the Miami Grand Prix, I want to touch base on the Indycar race last weekend at Barber. Interesting race, fuel miles race, which I can't stand. The race was over by the first pit stop. But I noticed one thing now. IndyCar is allowing a lot more wheel banging, a lot more rubbing is racing, so to speak. And people were doing stuff that maybe a year or so ago would be penalized, and now the people in IndyCar are not even blinking an eye. I understand the need. You have to strike a balance between racing and that, and safety. But this is open wheel racing. This isn't NASCAR. This isn't sports cars. These are open cockpits, open wheels. I have a real fear that if they keep this up, allowing the drivers to do things like this, bang wheels, they're just going to see how far they can go, and unfortunately, it's going to get to a point where somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah, I watched that race in amazement of how much contact there was, how many dive bomb moves into the corner that you just don't do. You know, I mean, you go in there and you push the guy right off the track, and then there's no penalty for that. You know, it's going to get to the point where the drivers are going to start retaliating, and like you said, somebody's going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to get into the whole thing, pick specific things. There were a few penalties there that were just so blatantly obvious they had to, but then there were others that I can't believe they're letting him get away with that. And then, of course, we had the whole mannequin episode, which
I love that. That was the best.
It's funny, but oh, Jesus, what were they thinking?
Who does that? I don't understand.
Allowing something to be hung over the bridge over the like that, and to have it fall, and luckily it fell off the side of the track, and one guy only clipped it. Can you imagine if somebody had been going with the thing, it fell right down the middle and hit a car doing 160 down the straight? That would have been.
You would have had a mannequin sitting in your lap.
It wouldn't have been good. But so anyway, IndyCar, get it together, will you? Come on, man, we love you. Come on. But what's going on? It was
a great race. There was a lot of action, a lot of lead changes, a lot of passing, a lot of strategy, pit strategy. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. I thought there was actually more lead changes in that one race than like Formula One has all season.
Well, my thing was, once after the first pit stops were done, I realized unless something strange happens or unless there are a lot of yellows, McLaughlin has this race won just on pit strategy. The announcers try to make it seem like it was going to be close, but no, it wasn't going to be close at all. I mean, by the last 10 laps, he was just cruising, just to take it easy on his tires and his car to make sure he finished.
Yeah, he even got out of the car afterwards and said that he really wasn't worried about it at all. That last caution, they were like, and he's like, no, we had the pace. We had it covered.
Yeah, the race was over. So anyway.
Of course, when you drive for Roger Penske.
Yeah.
You're pretty much going to win the race. He owns the series. He owns the cars. He owns the tracks. He owns everything, basically.
And then, of course, with all the stuff about the disqualification earlier in the week for the St. Pete Grand Prix, all of a sudden Penske comes back and wins again.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they'll disqualify him, a couple weeks from now, instead of doing it on the day of the race,
We keep this up, we're never going to get a credential for an IndyCar race.
Yeah, we just ain't getting any credentials. But we would like IndyCar back in Homestead Miami Speedway. Maybe not on the oval, maybe on the road course. That would be an awesome race.
Yeah, well, I've always pushed them, come back.
And I'm also all for the NASCAR coming back and do a second race in Homestead. Maybe do that on the road course also.
That would be fun.
One race on the oval, one race on the, because NASCAR is clearly wanting to add more road course races.
That they do, and I've already told people in IndyCar, come back to Homestead, race on a road course at night, and that place will be packed. On a Saturday night.
Speaking of that, we're gonna get back to the Miami Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. Why is that race not being run at night? I wanted to go to that race, and then I look at the temperature outside, and I'm like, no, with the sun. I've been there. Like I said, I'm there a lot, and it's just not a pleasant experience when it's that hot. And why is that race not at night?
The main reason is because of the time. You have viewers in Europe, viewers in Asia. If they race in Miami at night, it'll be in the middle of the morning, early in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning in Europe. I mean, in Asia.
Well, we have that here all the time. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning watching Formula One races, from China and Japan and stuff. It doesn't stop me. And we also have a thing called a DVR.
Yeah.
Well, go to sleep and wake up. When you wake up, watch the race.
There has been talk about putting lights there. It's a matter of money. If they thought they'd make more money doing it at night, trust me.
Well, to me, it's the atmosphere. It's the ambiance. Yeah. It's the Miami at night. The Miami lights. The pink neon. It would just be fantastic. Well, and then I would probably go.
Yeah, I would go too. But like I said, they're thinking about it. There's a problem with the time zones, and the race is a sellout. They add more seats again, and the race is still a sellout. So they really got nothing to worry about there.
I know they had the issue with the community there. They had protesters and things that didn't want the race because of the noise and things like that. And I'm like, really? Yeah. You have Rolling Loud there with rap music that's I drive for Lyft and I try to get within a block of the place and it's like rattling the windows out of my car. At 12 o'clock at night. That was just worried about some cars making noise at noon. That
was just a political power grab, money grab. They just wanted some stuff from a Formula One and from Stephen Ross and everything, and they got it. They got a bunch of tickets. Yeah. They got a lot of the businesses were able to put their concessions there and stuff.
Well, that's what we should do. Because we should protest, and then they'll pay us to stop.
As they say, a squeaky wheel gets the oil.
That's right. I'm squeaking.
The interesting thing about this race weekend is nobody's really talking about the race. Everybody's talking about Adrian Newey, announcing he will be leaving Red Bull, and everybody automatically says, "Oh, he's going to Ferrari, or he's going to Aston Martin." Those are the people who didn't read the whole press release. Yes, he's leaving the Formula One team, but he's staying with Red Bull to build their hypercar to race at Le Mans for another. He's under contract through 2025. He's not going anywhere. Okay. If he was to even leave early, they have what do they call those things?
Non-compete clause.
Yeah, but in Europe they call it something. They go Gardner clause or something, Gardner vacation or something. And so even if he does quit totally, he can, of course. But if he does, he still can't work until after 2025 anyway. So he's going to stick around, stay with the hypercar for Red Bull with their building one for the race in Le Mans also, which should be interesting to see what he does. And
well, it should be interesting to see what happens to the Red Bull F1 team. Are they going to have a drop off in performance?
Oh, from what I understand, he really didn't have that much to do. he was kind of like the boss running the technical thing, but when it came to the actual design work and coming up with stuff, he didn't really have a hand in the last car. It was I forgot the other guy's name. Some other guy here, some protege of his. So I think they're going to be okay. Nobody can stay on top, forever. Mercedes was on top. They falling off. Ferrari was on top with Schumacher. It's a falling off. The whole thing, I know people think I'm crazy when it comes to Adrian Newey. Everybody's talking about where he's going to go and everything. I know for a fact that he's talked with Andretti for their Formula One. I don't know. He might have told him to go, bleep off,
Well, that was my next thing. Is this is the big weekend for Andretti because he's supposed to meet with all the team owners in Miami,
right?
To talk about, and I give Michael Andretti a lot of credit because through all this, he's taken the high road. While everybody's criticizing Formula One and moaning and crying, he's just stayed the course, and he's not bad-mouthed anyone in Formula One. He said, listen, this is a process that we're going through, and it'll happen eventually.
Yeah, he's just having his father Mario do all the whining and crying.
Well, I mean, if you want to have somebody as a spokesman for you to go in and talk to Formula One, it's Mario Andretti.
Yeah,
I don't want to go off, but I got another Mario Andretti story for us, but like the Dale Earnhardt Jr. story.
Okay, save that for later. But I look at the Mario Andretti crying and whining, and I go, it's just like he's like a little league dad. Oh, my son's not pitching. What's wrong with you? Give it a rest.
The umpire's fault.
Yeah, give it a rest, Mario. You're loved, you're respected, you're one of the all-time greats. But sometimes, super nice guy. The guy will never say no to an autograph or a photo or anything. But pull it back a little bit. I would like to see Andretti in there. I would love to see they've signed a contract with Cadillac. It'd be good to see an American company racing, an American team and American engine racing in Formula One.
Well, they said that Andretti's building a factory in the UK.
Yeah,
I mean, they're going full speed ahead.
Yep.
No pun intended. But they are counting on being on the grid in 2026. Now, whether that happens or not, who knows?
Yeah, they've even had.
If that doesn't happen, then Michael might get, he might start doing a little bitching and moaning himself. But I like the fact that he's taken the high road this entire time, and I think that's going to help him tremendously. He must
know something, because you can even go to their website and they have like a couple of pages of all these jobs they're offering. They're looking to hire for all these engineers, aerodynamicists, technicians, stuff that, I don't have a degree for, way above my pay grade, but they're hiring like 30, 40 people.
Well, I'm available as a second driver, They probably wouldn't want me to be number one.
That would be Dennis Vitolo.
There you go. That is a good question. Who is slated to be Andretti drivers?
Oh, we don't. They have no idea. That's years from now.
Are we going to get American drivers?
I remember in the beginning, everybody was talking about Colton Herta, who, I don't know. How
about Marco Andretti?
Okay, now you're just.
Yeah, I know. An obvious choice might be Will Power, but he's probably too long in the tooth.
And he's not American either.
He's not American now. But I mean, I'm thinking of drivers that are in this IndyCar series that are,
if they
usually IndyCar is where Formula One careers go to die.
Yeah. If they do use an American, and that'll be in 2026 at the earliest, it's probably somebody we really don't know yet. It's probably somebody who's an American who's racing in one of the junior series in Europe, or maybe some of the junior series here.
Well, I think a guy named Kyle Larson would be a perfect fit. Let's see how he does in an IndyCar. He's going to be running in the Indianapolis 500 in a few weeks.
Well,
so we'll get to see him in an open wheel car.
Actually, if I was Andretti, if I was going to start a new team of Formula One, I'd hire 2 veteran Formula One drivers who know what they're doing out there, just because you're not going to win the championship the first couple of years. You know that. It's going to take a while. And you don't want somebody to develop the team, somebody who knows how to work with the engineers, somebody that knows the ins and outs. You don't want a guy, if you're just a brand new team, you don't want a guy who has to learn, as soon as they get to the track, they have to learn the track before anything else, before they even learn the car. So I'd get somebody.
Well, I would say half. I would say get 1 veteran driver and then have 1 young driver that you're bringing along, hopefully Audi, to be your number 1.
Yeah, Audi, who's bought the Sauber team and is going to be moving in, I believe, next year in 2025. That'll be officially called Audi. It'll be the Audi factory team. They already signed their first driver, and it's Nico Hulkenberg, Mr. Super Sub himself. He's driving for Haas now, and he's
how many years has he been the next greatest driver? I mean, that everybody should hire Hulkenberg.
He's like the zit that won't go away. He's about to break the record for the most starts without a win or without a podium, I believe. The guy's good. The guy's solid, but he's just never caught a break and never won. But Audi goes, listen, we want somebody solid, somebody who knows what they're doing out there. And that, I think Audi knows what they're doing, but they have to get it's Formula One's a different league, man. It's nasty. It's so much politics, so much stuff going on, and you have so limited testing. You only have a couple of days of testing before the season starts. So,
they've eliminated all testing
pretty much.
I think most series have done that.
Yeah, IndyCar, they do days. IndyCar does days and days of testing. If you sign with an IndyCar team, you go out there and you test. You have a lot of practices. Formula One, they have, I believe, it's 3 days of testing before the season. That's it. Yeah. And then you have your 3 practice sessions on the weekend, qualifying, and you race.
And the same with NASCAR. They've eliminated all testing almost entirely.
Yeah.
Even practices. They don't even have practices. They go out and qualify without any practice, which is crazy to me. I guess you're eliminating the costliness of having to bring crews in and put them in hotels and all that kind of stuff for test sessions.
Cost saving, because racing, NASCAR, IndyCar, everything, the prices, everything's getting more expensive. They're trying to make it cheaper for the team so they can race. I know Formula One has a cost cap, a budget cap also, which is why I don't really understand why they limit testing, because you have your amount of money you're allowed to spend. If you want to spend it on testing, go. If you want to spend it on this, do it. I don't, why should that matters, but they restrict that. They Formula One has a lot of restrictions besides testing. They have limited amount of time in the wind tunnel also, and other things. I know NASCAR, they did the same thing. They pretty much eliminated testing. They have very little practice time, and so I'll try to save money.
And that's bad for us because most of the winter testing would take place in Homestead, where they had weather that you could actually test. So we would have a lot of opportunities to go out there and do interviews and things like that. But
IndyCar is one of the few series that really allows a lot of testing. They, they've been at Homestead. They usually, like during the winter, they're either at Homestead or at Sebring practicing.
Right.
But I understand that you have to cut money, got to save the money and everything, but you gotta nobody's perfect.
Well, they're trying to help the bottom tier teams to compete. If you take away the testing, it's supposed to hurt the top teams, and then the bottom teams have a better chance.
I don't see how that works, because the bottom teams, how are they going to get better if they don't test?
Exactly. How about just let the bottom teams test, and then the top teams have to stay home?
Well, Formula One does have that budget cap thing where the teams at the bottom of the points, they get more money, and they get more wind tunnel time than the top teams. So, Williams or what's the other, or a Haas can technically spend more money than Red Bull this year. But
now, do you think with if they add Andretti, that'll be 11 teams? I think the most I've seen is 12 teams. I think years back they had 24 cars start.
Oh,
did they ever get back to that?
Back in the 70s and late 70s and the mid 80s, they used to have pre-qualifying because they had so many teams. They didn't have enough room on the track for qualifying, so the teams would have to. They'd have a group of teams that were in the back and go, okay, you got to pre-qualify, where they had they come to track, you got 20 minutes, get out there, pre-qualified to be able to qualify. They would get 30, 35 cars showing up to the track. And I think most times they'd only allow 26 or 27 to start. But that was back in the day when Formula One went, hey, there's a Formula One car, let me buy it and I'll go race. But you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I'd like to see them get back to the old days of Formula One. Make the drivers run across the street and jump in the car and seatbelt themselves in. Get run over. Throw a few mannequins out there.
I want the day when they race in short sleeve shirts and they come at a pit stop and then hand them champagne.
Yeah, the way you say that's back when the drivers were fat and the tires were skinny.
Exactly.
Now the drivers are skinny and the tires are fat.
That's what I tell people. I'm built to be a race car driver in the 50s.
I should have been able to win the Indianapolis 500 because I do enjoy drinking champagne.
They drink milk in Indy.
Yeah. Well, no, the first winner of the Indianapolis 500.
Oh, it's
right. Got out of the car and said he had drank 2 bottles of champagne during the race and said if it wasn't for the fine wine, I never would have made it. Imagine running a 500-mile Indianapolis 500 and drinking 2 bottles of champagne in the process.
Oh, well, but back then didn't it take 7 hours or 8 hours to run the entire race?
I know. I would have needed at least 3 bottles of champagne.
At least. or at least some beer.
All right. Well, what's your opinion of the track here in Miami that they've built around the Hard Rock Stadium?
I like it.
I kind of thought they should have drove it right through the middle of the stadium.
I was surprised they didn't because they can. You can drive cars through the stadium there. You have openings. I'm surprised they didn't do that. Maybe I don't know why they didn't. Would have been perfect. Now that they use that mostly for stores and teams to park their haulers and stuff. I like the track for where it is and what they built. I think it's a good track. The Red Bull dominance, unfortunately, doesn't really give us a good chance to see how good the racing could be at that track. Hopefully, maybe this weekend something will change. I don't know. It's also a sprint race weekend, so you have one of those short races on Saturday coming up, which means that's talk about no practice. The teams come in Thursday. Friday they have one practice session, and then they have to qualify for the sprint race. And then
2 qualifyings, one for the sprint and one for the regular race.
They qualify sprint race on Friday, and then they qualify the regular race on Sunday after a practice too. So they have very little time practicing on this track here. It's an interesting track. There has been some good passes there. The fans love it. That place is always packed. I mean, when the average ticket, I think I wrote down the average ticket for the Miami Grand Prix for the weekend. Are you ready for this? The average price for a weekend pass for the Miami Grand Prix is $1,234. That's average. Okay.
I know they offered me a package like that for being a season ticket holder with the Dolphins, and it still came up to around $900, even with a discount for a member. And I was like, make the race at night and I'll consider it.
Yeah. I think the cheapest seat is 400 and something on Sunday.
Yeah, just for one day.
Yeah, for one day.
That's crazy.
I would go, like I said, like you said, if it was a night, that'd be really good. It's so far. So we're tired of. I'm tired of sitting out in the sun.
Yeah, believe me, that is no fun.
No.
It's hot. Like those August preseason games with the Dolphins, man. It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brutal.
That's like the Marlins also. I check before I go to a Marlins game. If that roof isn't closed, I ain't going. It's too hot. Speaking
of that, we're not going to be watching any Marlins on TV anymore. I know it's off topic.
Yeah.
But Valley Sports and Comcast Cable have parted ways.
You can watch it on Fubo, though, and you can get a free month trial for free. So that's what I'm going to do for a while, but they'll figure out something. Anyway.
Well, speaking of the free viewing, F1 has announced that they're going to have a Formula One channel.
I know. And it's
going
to
be free.
And it's going to be free.
It's going to be 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Showing old races, old shows.
So that ought to be good.
I have the NFL network.
You just go and you're watching Formula One for free.
Yeah. I have the NFL network for free on my package. I have the MLB network. Why not? They work,
Well, I'm just hoping that they work something out by the end of the Marlins season because, they're going to probably win the World Series this year with the with the lineup they have, this pitching.
Yeah, right after the Heat win the NBA Finals the next couple of weeks.
Well, the Panthers are the team that is most likely to win a championship this year.
They're doing good. They're doing
for sure.
Okay, Miami Grand Prix. It's in our backyard. Who do you think is going to win?
Mario Andretti is going to win. The war of words.
The guy's going to win. Stephen Ross is winning. Did you hear the deal he turned down for
$10 billion?
$10 million because he owns the stadium. He owns all the land. He owns the Formula One race. The Miami Open, the big tennis tournament there and everything. $10 million, and he turned it down. Do the math, because the Dolphins are worth around $4 billion, according to Forbes. Yeah. They're an expensive team, but they're not the most expensive team in the NFL. They're worth about $4 billion. So when you add in the stadium, which holds concerts, which is going to host the World Cup soccer, also host the numerous Super Bowls, the Miami Grand Prix, and the tennis, $10 billion. We're in the wrong business, dude.
Well, I've got that in pocket change here stuck in my couch. Pull that out in quarters. $10 billion. And there were a lot of Dolphin fans that were complaining that they wanted him to sell the team. And I was like, have you ever heard the expression, out of the frying pan and into the fire? Just if he sells the team is no guarantee that it's going to get better. That's for sure.
And because his fingers are so many things besides, of course, the Dolphins. With that stadium, he has the tournament, the Formula One. I'm sure it's not just a thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to sell. It'd probably take months and months and months of legal haggling just to get permission to sell everything. With a Formula, I don't know what a contract he has with Formula One. No, maybe he can't sell. Maybe he can only sell to somebody who's approved. Probably. It's like the Dolphin. He can't just sell the Dolphins to anybody. It has to be approved by the NFL.
Right.
I'm sure same with the tennis tournament. I'm sure same with the World Cup.
And then you have to get all of those to approve together.
Mm-hmm.
And he's went through that process, and he's made it happen for himself. Mm-hmm. And I don't see there being a sale of the team until he passes away, and his family might do that. you know.
That's the word is he wanted to leave everything to his family.
Right.
That's why he didn't sell.
And they may sell at that point. It'll be up to them, but until he passes, I don't think that he's going to relinquish hold of that team.
No.
And frankly, I don't want him to sell the team. I like what he's done. He's put a roof on the stadium, put me in the shade, out of the sun. He's done everything right. He's opened his wallet and said spend as much right up to the cap or even go over it. He's gone out of his way. He's broken NFL rules to try to get coaches and players and things.
He's got he got the Formula One there, and that made me happy. So all right, guys, we got to get going.
No Mario Andretti story?
No, we don't have enough time.
It only takes a minute.
Okay, go ahead. You got a minute.
Okay, so Tony and I are at the Miami Grand Prix when it was an Indycar race in downtown Miami. We're doing interviews. We're schlubbing around the track. I'm hauling a camera around. We turn a corner and bump into Mario Andretti. And I'm like, Mario Andretti. I'm like, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. So we say, will you do an interview? And of course, nicest guy in the world does an interview. We do the interview with Mario Andretti. I'm hyperventilating the whole time. I've got vapors. It's Mario Andretti. And we finish the interview, and Mario says, have you guys had lunch? We're like, no. So the next thing we know is we're sitting at the table having lunch with Mario Andretti and Roger Penske. And no, I don't think it was Penske. It was it was
the Newman Haas team. Paul
Newman. We're having lunch with Mario Andretti and Paul Newman. End of story.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Mario's I keep on forgetting. I interviewed Mario Andretti.
Yeah, we had lunch with him right afterwards, and the team, he brought us into the big team tent, and just the greatest guy. Treated us like we were all old friends from years back.
That was during the old Champ Car days.
Yes,
oh, that was some good times. That was
running on Biscayne Boulevard in downtown Miami, where this Formula One race should be actually, but. It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, guys. Great story. We'll be back next week talking about the Miami Grand Prix and probably some other miscellaneous ramblings from two old farts. I'm Tony Castner, and this is
Jeff Brown.
You got it. You got the cue. We'll be back. Listen to us on YouTube. Watch us on YouTube. Like, subscribe. Come on, guys. Show us some love. We'll be up on Spotify also.
Here, come on YouTube and tell them how terrible we are.
Follow us on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Do all that stuff. So until next week, say goodbye, Jeff.
Goodbye, Jeff.
There you go.